We're still keeping our focus on the lingering fuel situation in the country, and joining us on the set now is Mr. Emmanuel. He's the National Transformation of the National Transformation Party. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the show this time. You're having a sigh of relief.
You sure?
I'm wondering why.
You sure?
Because
well, then I go here. The traffic and fuel queues just caused so much delay for me. Well, viewers, good morning. Thank you.
So the fuel scarcity hits you too?
Yes, everybody.
What do you make of it to this time? Because you've been looking at that space and seeing how the developments have come to this time when there seems to be a trade war between the NNPC and the importers, independent marketers themselves, with respect to, we have paid this much, you're owing us this much. What do you make of it?
You see, for me, I feel sad. I feel sad. 4 years ago, I think, the last administration privatized the refineries. They privatized the refinery because they saw the refineries needed a lot of work to be done and needed good management. Nigeria is a producer, a net exporter of crude oil. We are not supposed to be importing crude oil. We've agreed on this right from Obasanjo's time, we've had agreed on this. We decided to give licenses for private people to build refineries. Most of those licenses, most of those people could not build the refineries for whatever reasons, either they could not raise the funding or whatever. So we find ourselves at a place where we are importing. At some point, the government decided to, just as it deregulated the power sector, to deregulate the oil, the refineries, give them to private people who would manage them. I remember Femi Otedola and some other people took some of these refineries. This government came and reversed that policy. We thought that since they revised the policy, they wanted to make it more efficient under government management, like it's done in places like Libya and Saudi Arabia. We have 3 years after, down the road, they are now considering selling the refinery, so they couldn't get anything done about that. Now, the hope we have is the fact that Dangote is building the refinery that might be able to produce enough products for us. Now, we have a problem because the government's policies are counterproductive. You deregulate the economy of the downstream sector of the oil industry, that is, anybody who has a tank farm or who has a ship can import crude oil. But you have a policy being run now that seems as if the NNPC issues licenses or stuff like that. Now also, as a government, if you remember, sometime before the election, there was this issue about kerosene subsidy. And the last administration said, yes, they had to subsidize kerosene because it's what the masses use. If you don't subsidize and make kerosene available, they will attack the forests in using that firewood. That became an issue. Now, this government said that there was no subsidy, but now they've come and found out that there's subsidy. I would have expected that, especially for this time, this is Christmas. From January, you knew there was going to be Christmas. I would have expected that they would plan for it. People who want to import, you pay whatever little subsidies or whatever considerable subsidies you need to pay for this year, because we know from what we're hearing about Dangote's refinery that by next year that refinery will be online. And because the economy is in recession, even though they say they're out of recession, I don't see it on the street. Okay? Because you know the economy is in recession, you help the people a bit so that at least they can get fuel. Transport can remain stable in the celebration period, at least for this last 1 or 2 years. Because
it's official that we're out of recession.
Yes, because you know that in the next 2 years, you are most likely going to stop importing, and so you have a favorable supply and demand situation, and so the prices might come down. But another thing is, why would I have expected them to allow the market to manage itself and then put in some kind of policy to determine the actual cost of product? Then you just pay whatever is above a minimum that you don't want the products, or a maximum price you don't want the product to go beyond, so that there's a deregulated economy and there's a free in and out of that market. That's that about supply on the macro level for me. But then there is also for me the issue of the fact that the NNPC and the petroleum industry is not working efficiently. That's one. Because if you people are, of course, we are all within the space, we hear the news, we hear what's happening. There was a news out there that the Minister of State had made a request in June for augmentation of supplies, because if you did not make that augmentation at that time, that sometime around November, there will be a shortfall, and then you will notice this crisis. That's a management issue, that's a logistic issue. So that shows lack of competence, lack of efficiency in management in the petroleum industry. That's one. Two, I read what the marketers put out as a formal position statement that their tank farms are empty and that NNPC is the only importer and that NNPC has only about 20% capacity. And so if their tank farms are empty and NNPC is the only importer, it therefore means that NNPC did not import enough at the right time. That's also a incompetence, that's also inefficiency in management of NNPC's part. These are facts on the street that different people, you can see them going about it like this, it is your fault, it is my fault. It's not supposed to be like that. Then you see the GMD of NNPC going about looking for filling stations that have fuel. That's laughable for me. This is the GMD of NNPC.
Let's calm down, because
this is the GMD of NNPC.
Look at hold on. Let me just come in here, because if you want us to go the way of food deregulation, for instance, don't you think that that will be inappropriate, considering the masses of this country that are currently facing hardship in terms of the kind of minimum wage? Let me give you the minimum wage, the minimum wage that they have, and they will not have that capacity to absorb it. Don't you fear the worst for the ordinary people?
No. When MTN were the first, especially MTN and Airtel, were the first GSM operators in the economy. You remember at that time, just to buy your SIM card, I remember I bought my SIM card maybe 10,000 naira or something like that. When Glo came on, ask yourself what happened to the industry. Leave the industry to take care of itself. As a government, you've set 145. 145 is double what it was. You set 145, that's a very high price as the base price. And you deregulate the economy. Let people go bring their product. Let NNPC with the DPR who monitor quality. Let NNPC focus on monitoring of quality of products that these people bring in. NNPC can also be like an importer of last resort, which is what they have set up themselves to be now. Good. If you have that happening, then government will have a policy, maybe through the Ministry of Finance, that if at any point in time the world price of crude and produce lands in Nigeria beyond 145, let's say 10 naira after, let's say if it's 145 you can still live, let's say it's 150 you can still live it, that's 10 naira after your 145. But if it's going to 170, 200, then you come in and subsidize that, and everybody will understand. It reduces the work of government, it leaves business in the hands of the private sector, and they are more efficient at managing themselves. Do you understand me? So that's what I think would happen. What happened with MTN and Airtel would happen with the oil industry if you deregulate it properly. But they've not deregulated it properly. They want to manage it. They are not managing it efficiently.